You'd be surprised that, you need to be prepared that you're going to glue it up, and you don't want to sit there and say, oh shit, I have to go to the shop and get some more stuff and come back down, and the glue's already starting to set and get a little too grippy for you. Do a dry run and confirm the fit. And a dry run means that get your clamps set up so that they're in the right position. You know you're going to do a top clamp, so make sure it's already set up, not sitting on the floor or on the shop somewhere where you got to go and get it and then find out it won't go because somebody glued there and you can't get access to it. Fit your clamps. Make sure everything's there. Make sure that the clamps that are going to hold your cawls, that your cawls are going to fit underneath and your clamps will work to hold your cawls in place. And then dry fit. We'll go back to the So dry fit everything, do a complete dry run. Clamp it up, put some pressure on it, and make sure that everything lines up the way you want. And apply a little bit of pressure to make sure that there's no little last minute oops. And I say that because oftentimes, I've had it twice now, I will flatten all my wood. Everything looks perfect. All it's the end of the day and I go home. You know, I go back and go to bed and I wake up the next morning and wood is always moving and moisture is always in the air. And all of a sudden what was flat and square has now got a little hook in it. And then you go to clamp it up and it's son of a gun. And I have that with my, that's one of the reasons why my drunken cutting boards were so thin, because I had one of the glue ups curved, flat like this, rather than it just sort of went up just a little bit. Because one of the pieces of wood was saying, hey, I have no stress anymore. I'm going to wander around and see the world. So it opened up. So all of a sudden I put this piece together and I said, gee, I'm high on this. And it was the wood. The wood moves. So I try to do it now all in one process if I can. Flatten it, get it ready, get set up. I am the specific purpose I'm making you and get it all clamped up ahead of time. But it's good to have the dry run. And then apply the glue and then apply the clamps. Start from the middle. A lot of people will sit and the first thing they'll do is they'll sit here and they'll put the clamp on and they'll clamp this edge, and if it's slightly off, then all of a sudden everything shifts. Because as the clamping pressure is applied, the glue is applied and it starts shifting. It's a son of a bitch, and then all of a sudden you're fighting, right? Best thing to do is to line up your edges after you've got them glued in, drop that top clamp from the top, let it sit down, and just apply a little bit of pressure to hold it in place. And then make sure your edges, and then with the pressure and the glue, you can adjust your edges so that they're all right. And they're lining up the way you want them to line up. And then you can start the process of clamping your edges. And traditionally, if you've got a long clamping, you alternate top and bottom and top and bottom, because you don't want all the pressure on that wood, even though it's 3/4 inches, you do not want all that pressure all on one side. You need to alternate it between every clamp. So it's top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. In this case, a small board, just 3 clamps will do it. But if it was any longer than that, there would be 4 clamps to alternate. All right? Was that the last one? I can't remember. Right, so tighten the clamps. And then, yeah, wipe the glue off. Maybe. There's 3, pathways that people take. For the longest time, Norm Abram was saying, wipe the glue off using a damp rag. That's how, first thing he did was take a damp rag and he wipe the glue off. And then there are people who are saying, yeah, but you've just introduced water to a water-based glue and now you've thinned out your mix. And that water may go down into your joint, and suddenly you've got a weakened joint. And the water will spread the glue more, and suddenly you've got a glue getting into your surface, and now you've got to sand that out. So the next one is wait 30 minutes, and then scrape the excess glue off while it's still clamped. Just go in and, they'll start crusting over, and it'll be still wet underneath the bubble, but then scrape it off and get rid of the glue that way. And then the last one is just let the sucker dry. Just leave it where it is, let it dry, and then take a scraper and scrape off the glue. 24 hours is typically all I do for mine. They say, oh, it's ready within a certain time frame. No, I let it sit for 24 hours and harden up. So, remove the clamps and then scrape the carbon glue off with a chisel or a paint scraper, whatever works from that point of view. And I've done all 3. Like I've used damp rags and that, but right now I'll wait 30 minutes and I'll scrape the excess off, because scraping the hard glue off is a pain, where the soft glue is really nice and easy to do. Yeah?
What dictates how many clamps you put on your board?
I typically look at it 8 inches, 10 inches, something like that. You look at the board and you say, no, I think I need more. And you don't clamp tight. You're not trying to force all of the glue out. You're clamping at a medium type pressure, because you don't want to squeeze the heck out of it and all of a sudden there's no glue there whatsoever because you've managed to squeeze it all out. But you don't want to lose it loose either, like it's got to be clamped. And I think I've got one more. I think that's it. Nope, that's it. So that, in a nutshell, is the process that you would do if you wanted to do a cheese board. Same thing. Flatten the surfaces, square them up, get them mounted, glue, clamp, walk away, scrape the glue, and you're done. That's all.
Chris, what's the order of clamping the cauls versus clamping your...
No real order of clamping the cauls. I'll do the ends first because you need to get the bottom hung up. And once the ends are done, because that's your 2 reference points, then everything else is in the middle. Now, I've also seen guys where they just won't use a caul and they will take a clamp at the joint and they'll just clamp that joint.
Yeah.
They'll sit there and say, you know what, I just want that, make sure that joint is square and or level, and then this joint here, I'll do the same thing. I'll make it level.
Parchment tape is on those pads.
Yeah, on the pads to protect your pads. And if it's delicate wood like pine, then put a board, a sacrificial lamb, on either side of your clamps so you're not clamping and putting a dent in your edge of your board. You know, put another piece. There's no harm taking another piece of scrap, putting it on either side and clamping that together. There's just no glue involved. And that way your clamps can bang up that board all you want, you still get good effective pressure.
But you put your cauls on before you start clamping up tightly?
I clamp it mildly first to make sure, because I want to make sure it's in the right position this way, and then I start the call process. That's what I mean by having everything prepped up first and doing the dry run. All your pieces are there. You know your clamps are reasonably set to the width you need. Everything is all set. So then you can spend the time fine-tuning. As you tighten it up, you'll see it drift a little bit, so loosen it up, correct for it, tighten it up some more, and that you have time to do that now. And that way you're not wasting time running around looking for that one clamp that you forgot you needed. Yep.
And the real good double check here is on your A, your lines.
Yep.
Make sure your lines.
Yep, make sure the lines meet. The A helps a lot. And rather than, you look at your edge, maybe you're a little bit off, but if your A is perfect and you haven't got one board crossed with the other, because that's happened, you just throw the boards up and you're in a hurry and you flip them all, that A tells you, no, this is the way it's supposed to be clamped. And even in my small little, my pizza peels where I clamped all those little pieces together, I had an A down that, right? Because I wanted to keep the order of the colors. I didn't want to mess it up. And there was 30 pieces in there, but they all had a little line so that when they lined up, it showed me that that was where the wood was supposed to go. That's it, guys. Anything else? All right. Thank you.